Hi everyone, this is the Stylo Decode. We'll be doing Gematria and also talking about the mainly the first 3 episodes. There's so much packed into this series that we will be doing multiple parts to it. So most likely that'll be the same. It'll be the same time next week. I'll open it up to Reno because we're kind of doing a co-host thing here, and see if he has anything to say before I start with some of the Gematria decodes.
Thank you, Mike. And yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. This is something I've been waiting to do for a long time, and I'm really excited to be here. Especially ready to go to hear a wonderful presentation from Mike, and I know he's put a lot of work into this. So it takes time to really absorb this kind of knowledge, and so starting a little academy here as a weekly series, I think, is a really great thing to be doing. And we need lots of us to come together and really form that round table and to go on that journey and build up our own skills. So yeah, after the presentation, I'm really looking forward to some open discussion about it all, and hopefully people have also done their homework and can really join in and start to really just spread that awareness. And at the moment, we're all gaining this awareness and trying to put these pieces together. And so there's a patience there and the repetition of learning something new. And so yeah, I'm really excited about this show. I felt like the show, you can't underestimate how deep this stuff is and how far back it goes, right from the writing of this book, even just the concept, going back. And it's literally a torus field that they're inside of, underground. And there's so much there for us, parallels in our world to absorb and to reflect upon. And the Gematria is just another way of them adding to that. And it's going to be a tremendous journey here, putting it all together. And yeah, I don't want to say too much. I want to let Mike take us away. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Reno, and you're spot on, brother. There's so much packed into this show. It's mind blowing, and we're just going to be scratching the surface here with this one, and we're kind of trying to get the feel of the format for this, and try to develop a good flow for these shows and figure out how long of a show to do to best suit getting this out there to everybody. I mean, I'm going to try my best to not make this a 3-hour show. It's once you get into that realm, it's really difficult to for people to have the time to really pour into all of that. And then along with other shows, I know Reno's got another show today scheduled for right after this one, so we'll try to get him a little bit of time to rest up and collect himself to get ready for that next show. So this first decode here is from episode 1, the 1 minute and 25 second timestamp, and it is these first 3 images will be from the conversation between the sheriff and one of the workers in the kitchen, and she says, "Good morning, Sheriff." So now this is an example of how you can really run the Gematria in different ways. There's really no wrong way to do it, and when you're doing the Gematria, really play with the punctuation. Add the punctuation, and of course, if you do that, you have to spell it out. You can't put a comma into the Gematria calculator in it because there's no value for it. So you spell out, a comma, you spell out the period. And I've really gotten in the habit of always checking both ways because there might be double messages in there, or it's just the way it works out when they have them. It could be either or, and yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to go through reading all of these. That's why I went through and posting these up here. the first few images I did clip the gematria from the calculator, but that is pretty time consuming to order these and put them in the different levels to where they all appear one right on top of the other and resizing and all of that. So I did it for some of them, but a couple slides in, I went to just typing them out for the sake of brevity and being able to get more decodes done. So good morning, comma, sheriff, period, comes to 314. And I was blown away by how many times 314 and variations, 413, or any variation of 314, could be taken as pi 3.14. And I did make a couple slides to go over the significance of pi. But 22 divided by 7 is 3.14. Is 3.14. So you have right there off the start, they put the message, good morning, comma, sheriff, period, comes to 314 or 314. So right there on that first page of the gematria calculators was 22 divided by 7, which is 3.14. That's telling us right now that they specifically want us to look at that number. There is only the law of Jesus. The real commander-in-chief, 17, is Q. Holy Bible, King James Version. So whenever I'm looking for Bible references, I always use the King James Version. That's what Charlie has pointed us to. And I believe that the verses in the Bible are also coded with gematria, so you can take this multiple levels. And I believe there's equidistant coding as well, but I haven't gotten too far into that. God, who is above all others. The gift of eternal life is within. The creation of consciousness. The collective consciousness. 603 And then that comes. I have the Bible verse. It comes from Revelation 13:18. Here is kingdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and this number is 603. She speaks to you in numbers. And we have Psalms chapter 23. So it has that whole chapter in there pointing. They're pointing us to that whole chapter. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me lay down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still water. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me to the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cuppeth runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So the next one we have, rise above the storm like an eagle, a pouring out of God's Spirit. Patriots are now in control, meeting on the top of the mountain. I am the true master of Gematrix. God's grace is new every morning. 15 days to slow the spread. Favorite 3-digit numbers. So that 15 days to slow the spread, anytime you see or you can recognize something that was highly publicized, you could think back to, wow, they were coding this gematria message to us all the way back then. So, if anybody has any doubts of that the whole COVID thing was a psyop, or anything is a part of the movie, run the gematria for it, and you could get the flavor for, is this meant to be taken literally, or was this them coding something to us for us to look into? Enter through the narrow gate. Coronavirus is not even real. So this is the very next line in the script, where Sheriff Holston says, "Hey Sam, you awake yet?" So we got hey, comma, Sam, period, you awake. I'm gonna have to make that a little bigger. Oops. In a second.
Just quickly, Mike, did you get the Sheriff Department Becker, the 231 on the badge at the very beginning?
I have a giant list. Go ahead.
That was just a visual one. Sometimes the visual ones I feel are extra because they always zoom in on them, like they're quite deliberate. The visual, as much as the dialogue is as well. But yeah, that just worked out to be the calm before the storm, 231. So that was the very first image of the show is the badge of Sheriff Department Becker. So I just thought that was a crucial one to mention at the very beginning there. But this is great. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have so much gematria and so many tabs open and things saved. I really have to pick and choose. But there is a lot there, and I mean, there's no way it was meant for one person to, even one or two people to decode all of this. But this is my list here is by no means an extensive list. I probably got about 2 to 5% of what's there. I mean, they really make it easy in a show like this because basically everything is coded. Nothing is random in this show, in a series like this. I mean, this may be one of the most important shows that they've ever done, and there's a lot to reveal. And again, definitely come back each week for this because there's some big booms that I'm going to reveal that I wanted to get some of them out in this one, but I just didn't have the time. I mean, I worked straight through for the past 4 days on these, just nonstop cranking these out, and I hit a lot of gematria that did not end up making it in this segment. But I will be posting more, and I'm going to post this presentation to Decoding the Storm as well, so other people can go through this. And if you guys can't see, if the writing is too small, just let me know and I could zoom in a little bit more. Just bear with me as I do so. Keeps jumping around on me. Okay, hey comma Sam period. You awake yet? Question mark. Comes to 498. Underground resistance against government. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, my fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. Their superiority complex is their downfall. The two-edged sword dissects apart the false duality. The curses will now be lifted and blessings will be abundant. The book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 9. And that reads, fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. Love is what will change this world for the better. Keep telling the truth. The tipping point is here. It cannot be denied we are near the end of time as we know it. A. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 17. 47th President of the United States. English was engineered too, not just Hebrew and Greek. Now that meaning is, but behind that one, you really have to look at the 351s and understand why those are so significant. Because if in my eyes and in my knowing, I know that this language, these languages and the symbols within them, it was all coded. There is God's algorithm created these languages and encoded these things from the very beginning. It's so important to understand that. Once you know that in your heart, it really changes everything. It changes the way you view this creation, this experience, and it really opened my eyes. He will be given the seventh angel trumpet to blow. And that comes from Revelation 8:2. And I'll just read the context right before it and right after. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, and that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon a golden altar, which was before the throne. I'll just go ahead and read it all. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there was voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. So, I mean, that doesn't really need much explaining there, but, we've always heard a lot of talk about the seven seals and certain events that are those seals being broken. And then this arrow here from the book of up here, the two-edged sword dissects apart the false duality. And those lead to the Revelation verses 2:12. And the angel of the church in Pergamos, right? These things saith he which hath the sword, the sharp sword with two edges. In Revelation 1:16. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth his strength. And then those both point to the 47th president of the United States, because even though we know that these elections aren't real, in the movie, Trump is, we all know that Trump would be the 47th president, and Trump is the pale hoarder, the rider on the pale horse, with the sharp two-edged sword coming out of his mouth. So, when Q says it's biblical, there's a ton of biblical meaning in it, but I believe that Trump is the pale horse rider. Okay, so this is the third line from the conversation between Sheriff Holston and the kitchen worker. So this is another example of me spelling out the punctuation. I apostrophe am about halfway there, period. So it reads, I'm about halfway there, when he asked her if she's awake yet. And you could even look at that line, are you awake yet? That's the white hats talking to us. So we have, that comes to 413, think mirror. So 413 equals 314 equals 3.14 equals pi. So within the first 3 lines in that scene, we have 2 references to pi. Iesous Christos Theo Iosoter, and that's Greek for Jesus Christ, Son of God. May the 5th apostrophe 26, 413, and you'll see a reference to that in another image that I have from the same episode. Look up for the light and within for truth. Love is the key to the gates of eternity. The veil is lifted for all to see the truth. The most powerful people in the world, changing the world with vibration of love. The name of a man whose number is 999. And if you follow that, that's my full name, Michael Allen McMillan Jr. comes to 999. And that's in the Hebrew cipher. So, I'm 100% convinced that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And, I can't think of the exact Bible verse in which book it comes from, but there's, I'm going to paraphrase that, where God says he knew us before, before we were in our mother's womb. And so the way that the language was coded, I truly believe that that all of us are coded into this story. I feel as if that we're a continuation of those Bible stories, in a loose way. The future without serpent parasite, or a future without serpent parasites. History is written by the winners, and history is written by the winners. They even have a scene in this taking place during the Freedom Day celebration where they're programming the children and all of the people through a play that they have, where it's the rebellion, versus the establishment or the bureaucracy. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. Now she that is a widow indeed, and desolate, truest in God, and continueth in supplications and prayers night and day. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. And these things give in charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and specially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 60 years old, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she has brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry. The ascended masters guide me to lead. Well, and I guess I'll go back and give my take on 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 8. I mean, it's that's the game plan, or just it's pointing us to the Christ-like ways, and pointing us to all these things that that give us examples of being Christ-like. The ascended masters guide me to lead God's chosen, and I believe that I'm being divinely led. I believe that the knowing that I have when I'm going through this, certain things call out to me, and I feel like without that help, that I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing here. So there's, again, I feel like there's something special happening through me, and I feel like I have a responsibility to everybody else to do the best I can with all of this, and really get their word out there, get God's word out, and help us move into this future without serpent parasites. Gematria gives new light to unseen forces. And that's exactly what all this does. Is it shows us the Q plan. It shows us these goodly, godly people that are involved in making all of this amazing art, and I mean, it's art imitating life. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. It's from Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 31. A noise shall come even in the ends of the earth, for the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that they are wicked, that he will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. Gematria is awakening people and revealing lies. Psalms 119, verse 132, or 130. So we have Psalms 119, chapter 119, verse 13. We drop the zero in most cases when we come across the zero. It has no value. With my whole heart that I sought thee, O let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in mine heart, and that I might not sin against thee. Blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. With my lips have I declared all the judgments of thy mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of thy testimonies as much as in all riches. I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect unto thy ways. I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word. A calm mind and a calm heart can do wonders, said Jesus. So I have to zoom in on this. I made this a little small. So now we're going to dive into I guess you could call it the magic behind pi, and now I'm by no means a mathematician, and I was not able to do the math on this, but I mean it's self-explanatory, I think. If we could just get that to stay. All right, the most famous ratio in mathematics. Pi, the ratio between a circle's diameter and circumference, has fascinated mathematicians since antiquity. Pi, which cannot be expressed as a ratio of two whole numbers, is an apparently endless string of digits, approximately 3.14159. Pi is not random in the strict sense because individual digits are mathematically fixed. Modern computers have enabled mathematicians to calculate the value of pi to more than 13 trillion digits, but no evidence has yet been found that an increasingly accurate value of pi will ever reveal an end to the string, or that there is any regular pattern to be found within it. So I mean that could even be taken as an infinity if there's no end to that number. Pi in the Bible. In the first book of Kings, details of Solomon's temple include the measurements of a molten sea or cast metal sea used for ritual baths. The dimensions of 10 cubits diameter and 30 cubits circumference give only a rough approximation of pi. 30 over 10 equals 3. Although others have speculated about a more accurate interpretation from this verse. And he made a molten sea 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. And that's from 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 23. Indeed, an equally accurate approximation of pi can be obtained by division of chapter and verse 23:7 equals 3.2857. While it's the median of the two gives an estimation identical to the familiar 22 over 7 or 3.1428. So they're saying that if you do the division with verse 23, you put verse 23 over chapter 7. That's the division of it. You'll get 3.2857, which is, I mean, it's close enough to pi for me. But there is a far more accurate, albeit somewhat more tedious method of calculating pi in the Bible. It can be found using the Gematria values from the very first scripture, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. This verse has 7 Hebrew words with a total of 28 letters. By dividing 28 times the product of the letters by 7 times the product of the words, an approximation of the value of pi is given to an accuracy which wasn't surpassed until 499 AD by Chinese mathematician Zhao Chongzi, who used the fraction 355 over 113 and was not achieved in the West until the 15th century. So if anybody wasn't there, I did a Gematria decode on the movie The 355, and more that number is seeming more important. And there's the calculation that they used out of Genesis using the letters and the words. Now, I mean, again, I'm not a mathematician, but I believe it to be accurate. If anybody else wants to do the math on it, they can go ahead. And then it goes deeper. This to me blew me away. Charlie references, I think, the 153 fishes and casting thy net to the right more than any other verse from the Bible And if you mirror 153, you have 351. And God communicates through numbers, 351. 26 holy letters, 351. If you add all the letters of the English alphabet, with 1 being A, Z being 26, you add all 26 letters, you get 351. I mean, how many coincidences before mathematically impossible? So 3 unusually specific numbers in the Bible have long been the subject of intrigue. Those numbers are 276, souls saved in the shipwreck; 666, the number of the beast; and 153, the number of fishes caught in the net. Adding to the intrigue is that all 3 of these numbers are triangular, while 153 and 276 are also hexagonal. Hexagonal numbers are a subset of triangular numbers. All hexagonal numbers are triangular, but not all triangular numbers are hexagonal. So it's showing you here, the way that you stack these numbers, and the way you use the gematria or geometry to calculate these numbers, almost like how you would calculate the Fibonacci spiral, spiraling out. Again, I'm not a mathematician, and it's very, very complex stuff. The number 153 appears once within the first 1,000 digits of pi, and not at all within the first 1,000 digits of pi 2. No surprises here. So pi 2 would be pi multiplied, 3.14 times 2. No surprise here, but then a friend advised check of pi 3, or 3 pi, on account of the Trinity. Another thing that's referenced a lot, between Charlie and movies and the Bible. Surprisingly, 153 has 6 appearances within the first 1,000 digits of 3 pi. And then in that equation, 1.682 would be the golden mean. The odds of a 3-digit number appearing 6 or more times within 1,000 random digits are about 1 in 1,680. Number 153 is special. 153 is the 17th triangular number, 17Q. The 153rd word in the Hebrew Bible is good, which has a gematria value of 17, again Q. And we know through Charlie's teachings that that God is good with one of the O's removed. The first appearance of 153 in 3 pi begins at the position 17 after the decimal point. It seems strange that Simon Peter firstly dresses and then jumps into the sea, from John chapter 21, verse 7. But recall the 276th word in the Hebrew Bible, which is in the seas. And that's Genesis chapter 1, verse 22. The 6 appearances of 153 and 3 pi begin at position 17, 123, 443, 596, 645, and 888 after the decimal point. If I was everybody, I would take note on those numbers, and I know that I'm going to be paying more attention and look for those numbers more when I do the gematria. Those numbers come. I know 123 comes up quite a bit. I know 888 comes up quite a bit. And I have a post, or I have a decode for that too, that we'll see in a few slides after this. The 6th appearance of 153 begins at position 888 after the decimal point. 888 is the isophia. Yeah, I'll get it right eventually. Value of Jesus, and this is just another word for that's the Greek word for gematria, basically. The Feynman point begins from position 762 in pi. Beginning from position 762 within the decimal digits of the transcendental number E are the five digits, 20868. 20 plus 868 equals 888. The first occurrence of 762 and 3 pi is followed by the 3 digits 888. So again, they're referencing if you keep going through, because the pi is infinite, you'll get it. They're talking about these number appearances in the string of numbers in pi. 17 plus 123 plus 443 plus 596 plus 645 plus 888 is 2,712. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of things. That's from Dan chapter 7, verse 16. And they're adding up the Hebrew numbers for the Gematria there. For that verse comes to 2,712. Dan chapter 7, verse 16 is verse number 21,950 in the Bible. 2 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 0 equals 17. Q. 153 is the 17th triangular number. I have no doubt that they all know this, and they're using what's encoded in the Bible they're encoding it all into the movies. And I believe this here that we're going through is critical to understanding what they're doing, and it just adds another layer of proof and verification that this is biblical, and this is much bigger than people realize. The miraculous catch of 153 has been depicted many times in art, and the boat on the water can be represented by an 18-piece jigsaw featuring familiar triangular numbers 153, 666, and 703. The triangular number 5,788 is the 18th Lucas number, and the golden ratio raised to the 18th power. And 18 is R. That's, I believe, and if you take Q, R, S, T and say them phonetically, it says Christ. And there were Q posts that referenced R, which I believe is John F. Kennedy Jr. So when we hear 18 referenced, I believe that they're referencing him. Like 153 and 276, 5,778 is also hexagonal. 5,778 is one of the only 3 4-digit numbers to appear 3 times within the first 1,000 digits of pi. The second and third occurrences are separated by the number 18. And this is the last slide for this. So they're showing you here using these numbers and putting them together through Gematria. They're showing us the boat here. So I believe that this is directly tied into the casting the net to the right, and the 153 fish, which again 153 mirrored is 351. God communicates through numbers 351. And there's so much more. I should have had the 351s pulled up. So 5,778 triangle, 3 times 666 plus 703, Genesis 1, plus 1,088, Psalms 145, 17, plus 13, plus 153. Now again, I know this is confusing stuff, but it's here. A similarly appropriate aquatic scene is possible using fewer jigsaw pieces to construct the 5,778 jigsaw. The first 1,000 digits of pi conclude with the 4 digits 1889. So maybe we could break this down further in another episode, and I could do more research on it. O Lord, hear, O Lord, forgive, O Lord, hearken and defer not. For thine own sake, O my God, for thy city and thy people are called by thy name. That's Dan chapter 9, verse 19. And I guess the most important part of that would be how many times that the first 1,000 digits of pi conclude with the 4 digits. So yeah, the first 1,000 digits end with 1989. It's interesting that 13 times 153 triangles totaled 1,989, which are the final 4 of the first 1,000 digits of pi after the decimal point. And Dan 919, for thy own sake, has a gematria value of 210, which is another triangle number on the Hebrew calendar in the year 5,778. Corresponds with 2017 and 2018 on the Gregorian calendar. So again, Q said it would be biblical, and Q's first post came to us in it was either October or November of 2017. I can't believe I can't remember it. The mere mention of dates is generally met with a chorus of disapproval, with the naysayers pointing to a familiar verse in the Bible. But of that day and the hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. That's I think Matthew 24:36. Sound advice, but the verse is also part of the pi narrative. Matt 24:36 has an isopopy value of 8,696. The first 4 digits after the decimal point in pi 2 are 8,696. The first appearance of pi in the scientific literature was 1706 in a paper entitled Synopsis Palmarium Matheus, a summary of mathematical achievements by William Jones of Britain. It is thought that he, Jones, chose pi either because it is the first letter of the word for periphery, or because it is the first letter of the word for perimeter, or perhaps because of both. The first word of Matt 24:36, I think that also begins with the Greek letter pi. The Feynman point, and there's pictures of Trump having books by Feynman on his desk. The Feynman point in Ezekiel's oracle. So it's pi, and it's written out, and then it shows the string of 9s, which is, it's really high odds for that or really low odds for that number to appear in that string of 6 that way. The Feynman point is an improbable sequence of 6 9s beginning at position 762 after the decimal point in pi. The odds of repeat digits of this length starting this early in pi sequence is about 1 in 130 using a formula, blah, blah, blah. The most obvious of nature's circles are the 2 great lights created on the 4th day in the book of Genesis. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And before I go on to more gematria, I'll go ahead and open it up to Reno and see if he has any input to add to this.
Yeah, it's fascinating the level of detail here that you're going into, and it's a good lesson for all of us that we're really looking for that kind of divine, matching up across biblical texts, the text that we're seeing, and its larger meaning. And I'm really fascinated by this one line that they have about we don't know who built the silo. Let me see if I can pull it up here. We do not know why we are here. We do not know who built the silo. We do not know why everything outside the silo is as it is. We do not know when it will be safe to go outside. We only know that day is not this day. And I felt like they repeat that a lot throughout the series, and it's they're telling us this for a reason. And when I put that through, it turned out to be a 2012 com. As in all of that together was 2012. Which, as we know, there's a lot of significance to the 2012. Maybe it was the end of slavery in the Old Testament, in the book of Malachi, as the as a kind of show of manifest detail. The book of Malachi is only 4 pages long, and it's pretty much that last episode of judgment, as the show manifest, showed us. So so as we get deeper into this show Silo, and truly looking at the this kind of slavery, or imposed, quagmire we've gone through with our captors, and this incredible dance of struggle. So I mean, a lot of the 18 symbology is in this too, which to me is the book of Job. And the book of Esther is the 17th book of the Bible, and the book of Job is the 18th book of the Bible. And it's just like during the COVID time, it was, there was something was happening that was taking away the livelihoods of the people. The smaller businesses were closing down, and it wasn't their fault necessarily. And so it was a very analogous situation to the book of Job, where God was taking away our health, he was taking away our businesses, he was taking away all of these things. And it was, we were sitting there going, what is this for? What is the reason for this? And obviously it was for us to be learning more and to be stepping more into our faith. So it's completely analogous to the scenario that we find ourselves in. And as this show develops, it really builds on itself, as we put ourselves in the character of what's her name again? Sorry, I'm just blanking down on her name. Juliet, that's right. And so I'm sure we'll get. Where are you up to at the moment here? I don't want to go too far ahead on this. Maybe I'll just pass it back to you, Mike. And just wanted to set the table a bit more on the big picture of how important this show is, and what we'll get to. And I saw Giuseppe sort of mention that the air that the people were given when they sort of went outside was probably tampered with, and they only had 3 minutes. So it was sort of, it is hard to put these shows all together and to have it presented in a way that we can kind of get our teeth around, and really start to learn this gematria and see the little clues and how to put it together. But I mean, when I look at the generator, scenes, there's a lot of reminding of a kind of near-death experience in that. So I'm sure we'll get to that. But just really enjoying the detail that Mike is pulling through, and it is intuitively led in all of this. It's not there's nothing robotic or formulaic about this. It's purely, it's kind of like Trump's tweets or all this sort of stuff. When you see a line given that's out of place, or a zooming in on something that is not necessary for the story, but part of this bigger story. And this, and I love these numbers, Mike, that are like a 141 or a 121. These sort of, or a 343. These ones that could be, can be sort of rotated each way. I'm not really sure what to do with those, but I see a lot of those, and I see a lot of 298s as well. But we'll get to that as well. So I just want to throw it back to Mike, and loving his detail, and I'm sure as we go, more things will come up. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Reno. Brilliantly put. And I'll just add to, that beginning, segment that, we don't know who created the silo. We don't know why we're here. All those questions. I mean, those are deep questions that, I mean, I've been fascinated with for a long time. It's something that's been, it's like that itch you can't scratch, that it's like, how could we possibly not know how we were created? How do we not know, um, just all these questions that that, I mean, it's, you're taught. I was brought up Roman Catholic. I went all the way up to my first communion, and it just seemed like a bunch of crap. Like they didn't answer any of these questions, and and really what I witnessed through the Roman Catholic Church is it was fear. It was them instilling fear in you. I mean, they tell you that, if you don't do this, this, and this, then you're going to spend eternity in a lake of fire. I mean, it's like, can you think of anything worse than burning forever? It's like they sat around and thought, like, well, what can we think about that would really scare people? Well, how about we tell them that, if you don't do this, you're going to burn forever. you know, like the most excruciating pain that you could possibly have, and you're going to have it forever. So, it's reminiscent of the lie that's told, from, to keep them in the silo. So you could even look at the silo as a metaphor for the religions and how they keep people within those confines and constructs that, with the Roman Catholic Church, they teach everybody that you're a sinner from birth, and that all you have to do is just ask for forgiveness, and you'll be forgiven, instead of teaching what Charlie has pointed us out to many, many times, is stop sinning. And I witness this even with family members around me. It's, even though they're not even practicing Roman Catholics. They don't go to church. I mean, they're not even really, into the religion anymore. They don't read the Bible, but they're still programmed like hardcore. I mean, hardcore programming that was put into their minds when they were young is still playing out today. They're still running those programs. Not even daring to leave the silo. Not even questioning. Why are we here? It's just I've been taught these parts about the Bible, and it's really amazing how the silo and these religions can be superimposed over each other. And this, to go on with the Gematria, double the flowers in front of the mirror. So this is Holston leaving Juliet a note that is in, you go further on into the series, and you realize that Holston realized that there was cameras behind the mirror, and that they're watching, and his way around this is to add flowers onto desks and things in front of the cameras. So again, within, and this is 2 minutes and 34-second timestamp. So that's 3 pi references in the first 2 minutes and 34 seconds. I mean, it's unmistakable and undeniable at that point. So again, here we go again. This is at 12 minutes and 57 seconds. May the 5th, apostrophe 20, apostrophe 26. So here you have May 5th. And this is also an example of how you can play with it and run it in multiple ways, because I did first run it May 5, apostrophe 26. And, so you run multiple variants to see what's there. And I'm sure there is more in the other ones, but, you can't make all these infographs for every single one of them. I mean, it would take a month to get through the first episode. But we have, again, that date leads us to May 5th, apostrophe 26, comes to 413. 413 equals 3.14 equals pi. And then we have Allison loves Holston. Allison loves Holston comes to 258. President Donald J. Trump. Chester Charles Bennington, and anytime we have a character that has been, or person in real life that has been John Galted, their numbers become relevant at that point. These names were created to go along with the movie that we're watching. I mean, this is a 40-year plan. Really, you could say it's much more than a 40-year plan at this point. Jesus Christ Bloodline, 258. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's J.R.R. Tolkien. Anybody that's been following Charlie in the Freak Sense family knows how big that Lord of the Rings and all of Tolkien's books are to all of this, and just the references and the wonderful lessons that we get that are encoded into these stories. The wisdom of Almighty God. 33 is the key. Deciphering the Gematria database. I understand Gematria codes. The coming superstorm. Everything is relevant. And that's absolutely true. Everything is relevant. So this is an image from when Alison Becker is on her way to see George Wilkins, or Computer George. And so we see 17 on the wall. That's a Q, 17Q. And then down here we have B ascend ite. And, they could have been an R before that, but we see it scratched out. And, that any image that we see on the wall and the mise en scene, and I know I'm not saying that in the French way that other people say it, but same difference. The mise en scene is to be placed on stage. So everything you see had to have been put here by the people that designed the set in the scenes. So we get, we see 17 there, so we know to look a little further, get that magnifying glass out. B ascend ite comes to 97. Charlie Freak 97. Popcorn 97. Jacqueline 97. Son of Man, The Chosen, letter Q, plane crash. And that's a reference to JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy's John Galting. Story 111. Hurricane, The Beatles, I Am the Key, Kennedy's, Secret Code, Blue Rose, and that's a reference to the Order of the Blue Rose. That's I guess Mary Magdalene's secret order. Burrow, which would be another, what they're in the silo. They're in a burrow. Leadership, break the cycle or break the code. Higher self, Lion of God. Now, if you see something like 111 spelled out, and we did Gematria and came across something that came up to 111 before or after this, you'll know, or even within the next couple lines of script or something on the wall, it's it's 5-5, loud and clear. And then I will also say that, okay, Alison Becker, Allison, that could be, understood as Alice in Wonderland, Alice through the looking glass, Alice going down the rabbit hole. And where's she on her way to? She's on her way to George Wilkins, George magazine. So, it's coded in every single way. So this is where Alison Becker and Computer George are. So Computer George put out messages, just to give context to this. He works down in the computer lab a bunch of levels down from her. And he was sending messages. He was sending repair requests. He works in IT. So, and she posted something about recovering lost files or deleted files, and that got George's attention. So he had her her post about retrieving lost data and deleted files, which Alison Becker got reprimanded for breaking the rules by Tim Robbins' character, and for not clearing it with him. And so this is her. She was on her way down there, and of course that 17Q and that IT ascend was on the wall, and this is just a couple seconds or a minute after we see that, and she's in his office. That's 17. So George in his office is 17, and again he was sending repair requests over and over again up to her office, hoping to get her down there. So he didn't get her the first time or the second time. He had to keep sending messages. So that could be taken as a metaphor or allegory for Q sending out all these messages to us, hoping that they would get us, basically to come to their office, right? And then, okay, so the Gematria for, so when she's in there, you can't see it now, but she has a hard drive in her hand, and she says, any idea what 18 means? Comes to 269. Matrix Resurrections. Why Gematria is so addictive. Shows signs and wonders. Top secret spy program. Heaven means to be one with God. You have to take a leap of faith. United States Special Agent. So 18 is R. That's JFK Jr. And we know that he's played one Secret Service agent, Agent Timberlark, the bald Secret Service agent that was behind Trump, and I think we've even seen him behind Obama, the Obamas. Take Me Home, Country Roads, 269, and there's one. So one of the Vincent Fuchsia characters is played by John Denver. So we could tie that together. Take Me Home, Country Road. That's a John Denver song, and John Denver played one of the Vincent Fuchsias. 1 + 1 = 2. So that's the 2 into the 1. Charlie references that all the time. He is a man after God's own heart. 916218. So we have these random stringers in the Q posts. So, this is an example of me, me cross-referencing. When you come across a random string like that, always take it to the Q boards. I use Q alerts, and when you're running a number, well, I guess you don't have to do it with this one. If you're searching for a specific Q post, you put the number symbol before it and search, and you'll get the Q post. If you're not looking for the Q post, you just put the number in by itself. And so this points me to this Q post, which can be decoded in many ways. These stringers here, those can be decoded. I haven't dived too much into these yet. These color palettes are also decodable. Every color that's up here, this purple, I could take and put into the image manipulation software that I make these infographics with, and I could sample that color and I could add that color to my color scheme. But it'll also show you a hexadecimal number or HTML number that you could type in to get that number to come up. Every single color in the color palette has its own HTML or hexadecimal number that you can recall that color. So then you could plug in those values into the Gematria calculator and even go further. I mean, there's so many ways to decode all of this. I mean, this whole string here can be decoded. And I mean, this could be decoded even further. You could add the symbols onto this and, put greater than 916218. You could spell that out, 916,218. Just it really is. If you want to get all the comms, I mean, I mean, it's definitely some tedious work at sometimes, but you'll really be blown away by when you run that gematria and you get undeniable proof that it's comms. I mean, I get a nice belly laugh when I know I found something real. Device hold. So in this scene here, we have her holding that hard drive. So she device hold, comms transfer castle. I mean, I'm not sure where to plug that in for it. Yeah, move on to the next one. Okay, so this scene is right. So Allison finds out they've been trying to have a baby, and she thought that her birth control had been removed, and it was the doctor basically lied to her. They was in the operating room, and he pulled out. They seen him pull out a bloody birth control, like a IUD, and so they thought that it had been removed. And this is after she had learned. They cracked into that hard drive, and she realized they had seen a video that the outside was not. They seen that she's seen that it was green and beautiful, and that they at this point she knows she's been lied to, that they've all been lied to, and the interaction between Sheriff Holston and Allison Becker and their husband and wife, it's very reminiscent of what I've experienced, and I'm sure many of you have experienced with your loved ones and people around you, when it's so obvious to you that we've been lied to and that there's a higher truth out there, and we're surrounded by people with cognitive dissonance. Even our own husbands and wives are, they can ignore us when we know in our hearts that what we're seeing is true, is the truth that we're uncovering, that's hidden from us. And he wouldn't even believe. I mean, she actually cut the birth control out of her womb and showed it to him. And I mean, he referred to, I seen the doctor remove it from you. Even though she's sitting there with a self-inflicted knife wound, and she has the birth control in her hand, he still is reaching and trying to rationalize and grab a hold of whatever. This has to be some sort. You have to be misunderstanding this. I seen him remove it from you. Even though she just removed it out of herself. There's no benefit for her to lie and her to make up the story and her to act. Yet Holston still is suffering from the cognitive dissonance and just can't see what his own wife sees. And won't give her the benefit of the doubt. It's a very, very powerful message in this first episode, and I think that we all can relate deeply to it. So this is right when she says, "I want to go out," and that's breaking the cardinal rule. If you say you want to go out, you're put out to clean, where everybody believes it's certain death. So "I want to go out" comes to 180. In Gematria, we drop the 0. There's no value for it, so we have 18. So, that's another reference to R. JFK Jr. Proof of the past, 180. Gematria calculator. Decode, remove curse. Gematria prophecy. The Christ proof. Learn the secret code. The man behind the mask. Kundalini awakening. Rise like a phoenix. Nothing is random. Now comes the pain. And that's why I brought up this Q Post 1350. If America falls, the world falls. God bless our brave fighting men and women. They deserve our deepest gratitude. Through their strength and the millions of united patriots around the world, we will succeed in this fight. Peace through strength. Now comes the pain. Q. So now comes the pain comes to 180. So we have that reference. 352. 352 is a very important number. For one, it comes right after 351. We know how important that is, but Decode, I agreed to fake die to save God, comes to 352, amongst many other things that I'll have to repost my 352s to go along with this. Boom, 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 comes to 180, and that's another in another Q post. I should have brought that up too. So in the very next episode, I have this one out of order. So this is from the beginning of episode 2, and now this is after 2 years of after Allison goes out and they see on the screen her die out there on the fake monitors, the windows that are actually TV monitors, but people believe them as I guess they take them and view them as windows. Yeah, I think I got those a little out of order. Hold on. Okay, so this is after the sheriff has decided that he's going to go out, and this is right as he comes out the door, and it zooms in on his face, and he says, "Damn it, Allison." That comes to 143. Translation 143. November 5th, 143. Remember the 5th of November, and that's also a V for Vendetta reference. 117, 143. The Punisher, Melania Trump, Wizard of Oz, Matt Groening. That is the creator of The Simpsons and high-ranking Freemason, and The Simpsons. It's the longest-running TV show out there. I mean, it's been running since the year I was born in '86, and you know, how many times do we hear about The Simpsons predicting this, The Simpsons predicting that? Well, it's not necessarily a prediction. It's, you know, they're in control of what people see, and they're able to put stuff into the news, create events, and it's all stuff that they knew was going to be put out there. Claircognizant. So that's, you know, that's what I believe that is happening with me. And when I know stuff, you know, if you that's a reference, I think, to, or that I know it's a reference to the knowing. If you know, you know, and that's being claircognizant. You know, you don't know why you know something, you don't know how you know something, but you absolutely know it in your gut and in your heart. You know, it's not a brain thing. It's that gut and that heart and that spleen that you just know, and nothing will shake you up of what you know. George Patton, 143. And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm sure most of you do, that the man really playing Trump is General Thomas George Patton. The President, 143. Please stand by, 143. And then I have this image. That's another, it's one of the images coming up. It's from the same scene, just pointing to that we have 117 come up in the Gematria with 143. And then the very, very next scene, we have a 117. So he says, "Damn it, Allison." And then he says, "You were right. You were right, 174. Trust the plan. God is in control. The wait is over. Storm is coming. Eye of the storm. I'm yelling timber. Who's Timber Lark?" And there's that reference to the special agent or United States special agent, Agent Timberlark. That's another persona or character, Q operator, biosuit that was created to go along with all of this to, character in the movie. Code name to remember, 174. Special Agent T. Lark. JFK Special Unit R. Yes, John Kennedy. Real Donald Trump. And that's one of after they kicked Trump off of Twitter. I believe that's the account that one of the accounts that he's been using is at Real Donald Trump. This is a real God code. God is on our side. The Gematrianator. And Gematrianator is another Gematria calculator that so each the two Gematria calculators, they both have their uses. All of these messages that I'm putting out here that are, text-based are from gematrix.org, which has a huge database that you can see what's been searched how many times. And I also believe that the Christ team, Q team, can stack certain messages. Like, when you see something, I'll just use trust the plan. When you see that come up and you see the amount of searches, I believe that they could specifically have those searches set to a certain number that is also another, if it's something that you see like 218 or something like that, it's been searched 218 times, and the mountain of gematria behind that, it's almost like they're saying, hey, yeah, look here, this one here. But the Gematrianator calculator, that's where you can go really deep into the triangle numbers, the hexagonal numbers. They have a Fibonacci cipher. I think they have like 50 something ciphers that, there's a lot there on that website. They have a blog on there. They have, I believe they have date calculators, prime numbers, which all play a key into this, that go deeper than I really have been going into it. I've started to explore all that, and with my name and things like that, and it just gives me more proof that God put me here for a reason. And then even these, I put the timestamps here too, because these also can be decoded. I just didn't have the time to decode them all. They could be referenced to Q post. You can convert these into military time, and you could just spell out 529 and see what comes up. Decode everything. Nothing's random. So this is what he sees out of his visor, and counted the birds here. We have 15 birds. 15 birds, 117, and 117 that just came up. I think it was Damn It, Allison. God's Timing, The Goonies. Now, references like that, those are, this is just a plethora of different Q characters, Q movies, Q shows, things that we've been pointed to that are made by goodly, godly Freemasons. And it's just verification of how long and how all-encompassing, this plan is, and how much that they've put out for us. All these characters have meaning in these movies. Holy Bible Code, Alan Turing. And Alan Turing was a master code breaker. And he was in the intimidation game, where he built the first computer that was able to decipher Adolf Hitler's his coding that he was putting out. But that whole movie's about him. Billy the Kid, 117. Judy Garland, that's Wizard of Oz. There's Isophasia. That's again, that's Gematria in Greek. I have Alan Turing twice there. Pingala Pineal. Frodo Baggins, The Godfather. Jean-Luc Picard, that's a character in Star Trek. Faith and Love. Field of Dreams. Charlie did a whole show on the Field of Dreams. You know, I mean, it's super important there. That's a huge one. Matis Yahu. That's one of my favorite artists, musicians. His music is absolutely amazing. The messages behind it, the energy. I've seen him live like 4 or 5 times, and it just every time it's a blast. And yeah, if you ever have the chance, go see him. Rick Sanchez. That's one of the main characters in the cartoon Rick and Morty. And Rick and Morty, it's a loose play on Doc and Marty McFly in Back to the Future. If you don't understand the significance of Back to the Future and Robert Zemeckis and all that's coded in that, the 88 miles per hour, Trump 88. I mean, there's a lot with Back to the Future. I think Back to the Future is also a rendition of or another play on The Wizard of Oz. I watched a video last week that blew my mind, that drew the comparisons between The Wizard of Oz and Back to the Future. But and I will note that the first I ever heard of Rick and Morty, the show Rick and Morty, everybody that's watched The Simpsons knows that at the beginning of each episode they have like a new little spliff of what happens in the living room, right? When all the Simpsons are rushing home, they get to the couch and it's always different. They add some different editing to it. The first I ever heard of Rick and Morty was Rick and Morty crashed their spaceship into their living room. And that's what turned me on to Rick and Morty. And that show, I mean, it's some crude humor, but it's very funny, but it has much deeper meaning. And it, getting play on The Simpsons, that was a nod from the Freemasons to, hey, check this one out. James T. Kirk, that's another Star Trek character, Captain Kirk. Fifth Avenue, 117, that's the street that Trump Towers is on. White Rabbit, 117. Jackie Kennedy, Johnny Cash, Chosen by God, Steve Jobs. And I don't have any gematria done by this. I believe that Steve Jobs was played by John Lennon. Apple iPhone, 117. Bruce Wayne, DNA of Christ, The Seal of God, Divination, Golden Circle, that's Kingsman, the Golden Circle reference. James Cameron. And James Cameron, one of my favorite movies by him was Terminator 2. Just a movie I watched as a child. I loved that movie. But I have heard that the Terminator franchise is a prequel to the Matrix movies. So it's pre, us being, and I'm not saying that we're in pods or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, that metaphor of it. It's pre when the machines took over, and the Matrix movies are after we've been conquered by the machines. And that's a film by James Cameron. Also did Avatar and a bunch of good stuff. The Omega Plan, that's God's plan. All of My Love, it's a Led Zeppelin song. Manifesting, Aaron Lewis, 3 9s. So there's that 999 number, and then that also comes to the transcendental number. And my my Hebrew Gematria value is 999. And then right after that, the one of the characters slams down these two credits, that 5 and 5, so 5 loud and clear. So they're telling you right there that 5 you got the message. So relics are things from before the rebellion, and that they are illegal. And this was a relic that was left for Juliet. And if you look and you notice that there's this nut tied to it, and then a string, and the string runs down into the hole. Well, that was a clue that George left for Juliet to. It's a clue to where he hid the relics and where he hid these breadcrumbs for her to find. So what he would do when he hid these relics everywhere is he would tie a nut to them, put a string on it, and then he would drop whatever the nut would hold whatever was lowered down into the rabbit hole, right? And there would be that nut that was left up, like that. There was instances where they used it in the air vents, right? Where he would lower. Holston even used the same tactic, that they would lower the relics in a burlap sack down into these air vents or off the side of off the side of something, right? But it's symbolic of having to, there being a breadcrumb up here and having to pull on that string, and you have to dive deep and pull up that nugget of truth, that relic, that deep truth. And then the Gematria for Rubber Deck Pez Dispenser, 261. John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., 261. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, 261. Russia, Russia, Russia. Special Agent John F. Kennedy R., 18. National Security Agency. And we know from the Bonfire Guy videos and Charlie pointing out that the NSA is what was used to target, everybody was being watched. But when the NSA came about and the smartphones and Blackberries came about, the bad guys were using them as well, and couldn't resist using that technology because the tech made things easier. So that was the NSA and Q teams, reference to, or that's what they used to get all this information and to dig up all the dirt on all the darkness. And Vincent has referenced that National Security Agency, no such agency. So I don't believe that the National Security Agency was really a thing, but it was just that was a metaphor, allegory for the Q team. Number of a man, Donald Trump, 261. And we have that reference again to pi and phi. So we got pi and the golden mean in the Fibonacci sequence, 261. And anybody, I'm sure you all get the Fibonacci sequence. I think everybody here knows that. It is the final countdown. Let your light so shine, 357. So we reference that to the Q post 357. Trip code on 4 working. Hashtag fly, Sid fly. Hashtag. We don't like to say his name, Q. So any Q post that has this hashtag fly, there's multiple references with this. There's one hashtag fly Roth fly. There's several of them, but those are trip codes, and if you run the Gematria on those, you'll get messages, and I'm sure there's deeper meaning to those that I have not uncovered yet. The victory of the friends, Anybody that knows the Pepe and the frogs, fully reliant on God, it's instead of saying friends, they say friends. So victory of the friends, 261. Always search for truth. The day of vengeance of our God. Daniel 12, verse 4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. I mean, that seems like what's happening now, uh, direct reference to everything that's happening now. And even now, we're increasing the knowledge. This everything that's said here and recorded here will be able to be played back, and people will be able to follow these breadcrumbs, and hopefully they'll be able to take what's being taught here and start to decode themselves and start to spread that out more. Landing 12. This is from episode 3, the 12th landing here. And there will be a reveal on these two. I wanted to get it out in this one, but I didn't have the time, and I didn't want to rush it. It's so important that it needs to be done right. But if you guys haven't figured out who these two are, I highly suggest you take a look at them and run the gematria on them and the character names and look at some images, because they're two pretty important people. Donald J. Trump, 148, and that's simple cipher. And I went ahead and added the English cipher as well, because it came to 888 special number. We've seen that even in the references to pi in the Bible, and the where the numbers appear together in the infinite strings, the infinite string of 3.14 or pi. A message from God, 888. Essential info, simple gematria, English gematria, Jewish gematria, gematria code of God, God's anointing, divine presence, time traveler, I am John Kennedy, God's algorithm, the art of the deal, and Palestine, Ohio. And the Palestine, Ohio reference, I believe it's a made-up city, and that's where they had that fake train crash that was predicted in the movie White Noise, which I did a gematria decode on. If anybody hasn't listened to that, you can look in my pinned post. We did a whole 3-hour or so decode of that movie, which it's heavily loaded with comms, and an absolute white hat movie, just loaded with wonderful stuff in it. Okay, and this is the last slide, and this is just something that I put together here. I'm going to have to dive deeper on this, but when the mayor, when they're having the Freedom Day celebration, she brings up 140 years since the rebellion. So you do the math, 140 years from the date of when this episode aired, you get to 1883. And so I'll just read this real quick. The Pendleton Act was a landmark U.S. legislation signed into law on January 16th, 1883. It established the tradition and mechanism of permanent federal employment based on merit rather than on political party affiliation, the spoil system. The act made it unlawful to fire or demote employees covered by law for political reasons. The issue of civil service reform was raised by citizens after the Civil War, when newspapers featured stories of widespread corruption and incompetence in federal departments. Senator George H. Pendleton of Ohio sponsored a civil service bill in January of 1883. The bill called for the open selection of government employees and created a civil service commission. President Chester A. Arthur signed the Pendleton Civil Service Act into law. And so if you look further into the Pendleton Act, you can quickly decipher that this was the beginning of the bureaucracy. And that the theme in Silo in season 1, where one of the themes has been that the people that are trying to spread the truth and get the truth out and do the right thing are killed or imprisoned by the bureaucracy, right? By people. And you see that when Holston goes outside and they need a new sheriff, right? It's tradition for the sheriff to pick his successor. Well, you see that Judicial and Tim Robbins' character are trying to manipulate and insert their picks and don't want Holston's pick was Juliet, and Juliet's somebody that's trying to pull out all the strings and unveil the truth. So they're showing us the bureaucracy involved in how the bureaucracy it prevents and it's used to prevent the light from overcoming the dark. So 140 years ago is when the bureaucracy is the deep state. That is the swamp, right? All these people that are appointed in all these positions that it has no end to when these people lose their power. So they get appointed by buddies, by people within their groups, and they never leave. And this giant deep state bureaucracy is what's been reaping havoc on us and destroying our lives and making things the way that they are. So I personally know that, I know in my heart that the 140 years, it's a reference to the Pendleton Act and the creation of the deep state. And I'm gonna explore that further. And also 140 years from the date that the speech was given by the mayor is also that comes to 1889. And the way I was able to figure out the date in the silo was after George Wilkins dies, you can look and see the date of when he just moved into he moved into mechanical to a different department, and Sheriff Holston's looking at his file, and his move date and the last date in there was 41. So that's 2 years after the Freedom Day speech, which was 140 years. So that date adds up to 1889. We know that Vincent and the White Hats made the movie 1889, and that movie's heavily loaded in comms. So, and that's it. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Reno and see what he wants to add. And we will also open it up for questions and anybody else that wants to add anything.
Yeah, I was going to say open it up for questions. Maybe let everyone's mics open. It'd be lovely to hear from the community and see what they think of what we've talked about so far and what they came out with themselves. And just quickly, I want to mention I guess we're up to the first couple of episodes, aren't we? We haven't quite touched on the third episode yet, but yeah, I really like what you're saying there about the 1883 and the development of the deep state and how analogous this whole judicial situation is. I feel like that's really a good correlation, and how we don't stand a chance. That kind of that we really we really have a lot to learn from Juliet about how she unpeeled all of this out. So there was a couple of things about the generator incident I'd like to talk about when we get to that. But if anyone has a question or something they'd like to share about the show, it'd be lovely to hear from the community. So yeah, welcome everyone.
And Reno, I did want to get to that as well. I did record the scenes from that, and I was having troubles with the encoder when I was trying to play them. I was testing them on Telegram on the live stream, and the words weren't adding up to what they were saying, but in the next episode in this series that we do next week, I'll have that problem fixed, and we'll be able to view that whole scene. I think that's like a 15-minute long scene, but I think it's relevant to view to have everybody view it and be able to discuss it together amongst other scenes in it. But if you wanted to add anything about that, feel free. I mean, it won't hurt anything now. I mean, I've got my take, some takes on what that's about and the symbology of it. But I mean, it's up to you if you want to go there. If not, we'll wait for next week. But also, by all means, if anybody has anything to add, jump in.
Well, what's really cool is that we can, go where the questions lead us and do it together. Because I feel like with a lot of people's interpretation of all this stuff, it's still getting started, and so we really have to learn to walk before we can run with this. And I think you've given us a great hour and a half there of a lot for us to think about. So yeah, if the rest of the show was an open discussion, I think that would be great. And loving to hear where people are up to, and love to hear more about their decoding journeys in general. And this is really just a getting started, celebration of our extra levels of meaning that we can glean from these shows, and how wondrous this process is, and what we're truly awakening to. So just want to use this topic to get to know each other better, and to learn, to get more meaning and more enhancement of our connection to the divine. So love to hear from the next person. That'd be lovely.
Well, I mean, if nobody really has anything, I mean, 90 minutes or an hour and a half, I mean, it could be a good stopping point. Keep it short, and it might be the shortest episode I've ever recorded of anything. Most Gematria decodes I've done have lasted 3 hours to 4 hours. So, but we'll give people another minute or so to see if they want to add anything. If not, go ahead, Dandika.
Hi, Mike. I have to say, like, you blow my mind. I take it from, the Hebrew and the simple gematria, and then I might go into the Q, but the levels that you get are just amazing to me. I just commend you for taking the time to do it. It's just amazing. And you're really opening my eyes to how much more that I need to dig down. But also, I just wanted to add that you mentioned the scripture, and I'm wondering, with all the changes that we know have taken place biblically, can we be, I know that the 1611 King James version is the Bible that we should be using, but like, to take the entire chapter, Charlie always says, instead of just taking a specific scripture, he says taking the entire chapter. How do we, some of it doesn't correlate to what it is that you pull up. So what I'm wondering is, how do we condense that? Because like you said, this becomes, up until 3 o'clock in the morning, most nights anyway, but it just, like, I seem to get lost in the minutia. So are there times, I guess my question would be, are there times that you can just take it down to a specific scripture and feel good that you've come to a stopping place?
Well, thank you for your compliments, and I don't take credit for it. I go with Charlie, when he says that he's divinely pointed to things. I believe that there's no way that I could do all this myself. I've learned to listen to that inner voice, and that's all I'm doing here is I listen to that inner voice says, look here, yeah, uncover that, keep going, and the more you listen to it, the I feel like the more it talks to you, and so all credit goes to the Great Spirit, and whoever's working through me, and as far as the scriptures go, I mean, it's I think with the King James Version being made by Francis Bacon or put together by Francis Bacon, and who's also William Shakespeare, I believe that there's everything in there can be of use. And when we see one verse pointed to, I mean, you just listen to what Charlie says, and go to that whole chapter, and read the whole thing. It's just the one verse is just a pointer. It's pointing us to that. And if Q's telling us to go, it's pointing us to this verse in that chapter, then I do believe that Q is wanting us to read, to try to decode and decipher the parables of that whole chapter. And it, with what we dove into with pi in the Bible, and in these numbers, how they appear is triangle numbers and prime numbers, and all this. I think that's where the real substance is, along with the parables of teaching us to be kinder and better people. It's also pointing to these numbers. It's like, so when Daniel chapter 3 verse 9 comes up or something like that, it's with what we see with pi in the Bible, it's what lies underneath that verse. What's that number? And I'm going to start looking into the triangle numbers and hexagonal numbers and the prime numbers more for these. And the best place for that is the Gematria Nader calculator. There's a ton in there with that's able to pull all the Fibonacci numbers up, and that's where I would start looking into the numbers in that come along in that infinite string of pi 3.14.
Thank you so much for that. Can I ask one more question, please?
Absolutely. Ask as many as you want.
Okay. So at one point towards the beginning, you were speaking about how one of the sequences came up with the number 999, and that's your name. I have had my name adds up to 111. And so I have found like those kind of things. I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of freaks me out sometimes, especially if you're like alone and you're deep down in a rabbit hole, and it just starts to mess with my head. I feel like somebody's on the other side of my screen speaking to me, kind of thing. And I just wondered, is that normal? Number one. And do you feel compelled to, like, sometimes I feel like sharing that, who cares? It's important to me, but it's not, or it may not be to someone else. So that's just a, kind of a personal question that I had for you.
From my experience, I believe that it's all relevant, and that number you're seeing, I think it correlates to Charlie referenced in the Q&A yesterday that we've all been all these different characters, and we've all been Joseph. We've all been, just these different biblical characters, right? And it makes sense if we're infinite, and, when we die, we just come back into the loop. And so I do believe these numbers, or not believe, I do know that these numbers correspond with who we are. I mean, here's one of my best examples of it here. Okay, so first I'll put my name in. This is what really it led me to understanding that I'm playing some sort of biblical character here. So there we have the 999. Here we have 1224, and that's, if you add 12 and 24 together, that's 36. 36 is 9. So if you want to understand the mysteries of the universe, understand 3, 6, and 9. But here is one of the most important here for me. So my full name comes to 204. Meeny, Teakle Parson comes to 204. Also 1224. What does Meeny, Teakle Parson mean? It is Meeny, Teakle Parson is an Aramaic phrase found in chapter 5 of the book of Daniel, the story of Belshazzar, and the handwriting on the wall. This is where we get the colloquial phrase, writing on the wall. Daniel 5, the writing on the wall. Here's the passage where we encounter this peculiar phrase. This is the inscription that was written. Meeny, Teakle Parson. Here is what these words mean. Meeny, God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Teakle, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Paris, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. A royal banquet gone wrong. Belshazzar was Nebuchadnezzar's successor. He threw a great banquet for his noblemen, and at the banquet he called for the holy vessels from the temple in Jerusalem, which were currently residing in the temple of his Babylon gods, so that he and his guests could drink for them. An inscrutable message. Belshazzar's use of the Israelites' holy vessels was a great sacrilege, and when it happened, a disembodied hand appeared in front of the king and wrote something on the wall that he couldn't read. This terrified him. He called for his experts and promised power and riches to anyone who could read and interpret the writing. None of his wise men could explain it, but the queen remembered the great interpreter, Daniel, who had served Belshazzar's father, Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel chapter 5, verse 7 through 12 is where it came from. So Belshazzar summoned Daniel, who was able to tell him what it meant. I take my numbers and I'm able to plug this in, and I'm that guy that's reading the writing on the wall. I mean, literally in the shows I just read you guys the translations from what I seen on the wall. That I'm to this day I haven't seen anybody else that's pulling the type of decodes that I'm pulling, and it's not like a boastful or bragging thing. It's just the truth. There are several possible reasons why the writing was such a puzzle and why no one knew what it meant. The hand wrote in Aramaic, which that was the language of the day. Aramaic is a consonantal text, so there probably were not any vowels present. Reading a series of consonants can be difficult and creates room for different interpretations. There may also not have been spaces between all the letters and words, so trying to sort out where the words division could have been a challenge. Rembrandt actually has a famous painting called Belshazzar's Feast, in which he depicts the letters written on top and the bottom of each other, which would add another layer of complexity to the text. So I mean, it's just like the encoding and me having to run multiple sequences of these and like the one with the rubber duck Pez dispenser, right? I mean, believe it or not, that was the first. When I saw that was the first on my first try. I was like, oh, rubber duck Pez dispenser. And sure enough, John F. Kennedy Jr. came up, right? But how does Daniel interpret it? When Daniel comes into the story, he reads the writing Meeny, Teakle Parson. There's some variation depending on the translation, but he reads 3 nouns: Meeny or Mina, Teakle or shekel, and Parson or a parson, which is the plural of Paris. So those are 3 nouns, and they are probably weights and measures that he's describing, but that doesn't mean anything. It would be kind of like saying penny, nickel, dime. What does that mean? His interpretation of what it meant. Daniel actually interprets 3 words that use the same consonants but can be translated as verbs. He told the king that the writing meant, God had numbered the days of his kingdom. He had been weighed in the balances and was found wanting. God was going to divide the kingdom among the Medes and the Persians, which is where Paris comes from. Belshazzar rewarded Daniel for interpreting the writings on the wall. Then that very night, Belshazzar was murdered and his kingdom was divided. So, I mean, to me, it's plain as day that the character that I'm playing in this is similar to Daniel. You know, I mean, the simple gematria is the same. The English is the same, of course. And then, you know, you pair that with, you know, Michael Allen McMillan Jr. in Hebrew coming to 999. You know, and that being in, you know, right there for us to see. The name of the man whose number is 999. I mean, how many coincidences before it's mathematically impossible? You know, so I would say to dive deeper into that number and find out where it fits in all of this, because we are definitely a part of some bigger picture in this movie. And I'll just leave it there.
Wow, like that's, I almost fell off the chair when you pointed out that scripture. I mean, that is so powerful. It's mind blowing. I have a lot more work to do. One last thing, Mike, when you mentioned that you didn't recall the scripture about how you are, you know, supposed to be in the movie, or that you were meant to be doing this. It came from Jeremiah 1:5, and it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and approved of you as my chosen instrument. And before you were born, I separated and set you apart, consecrating you, and I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." And if that doesn't say a lot about you, then I don't know what does. Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you for that, and you're very welcome. And yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to swallow that whole thing. You know, it's a big pressure on me, but I know that I'm on that right path, and I know that I'm connected to God in some way, and that He is working for me. It's through me. I'm working for Him. He's working through me, and I do believe absolutely that that you know, he did. I was sent here for this, I believe. You know, I believe that I'm doing the specific job that I was. I don't even really want to call it a job, but I'm doing his work that he sent me here to do, and it's very powerful when you're able to prove that to yourself. You know, it's at this point, I don't need faith or belief. It's 100% knowing that I do have a higher purpose. I do serve a higher purpose, and I couldn't be happier to know that I'm fulfilling that. And you know, I don't consider myself a prophet. I'm just reading the writing on the walls. But yeah, I mean, I don't consider myself a prophet, but I definitely do get the reference. And yeah, it's very powerful. I encourage everybody to dive into it and run your numbers and go to the Gematria Gematrianator and play with the you know, learn your numbers and then plug those into the Gematrianator and find those triangle numbers, those hexagonal numbers, and then I'm going to post this PDF to my page. So if you guys want to go back and look at pi in the Bible, I'll also post a link to that website for everybody just to go through that website on their own and look at those numbers and see where they compare, and find out where they appear in that string of numbers in pi. You know, I know that cryptocurrency and stuff doesn't really get talked about a whole bunch, and in the end, we're not, you know, there won't even really be a need for money like that. But I do believe that the Pi network is a transition to that that there will be a system that has to be set up that will allow people to get access to, whatever the reparations of the money that was stolen from us through taxes, this and that. There's going to have to be some sort of way of getting that to people, without people showing up to this place and standing in these big long lines. I do believe that Pi network is going to be that. It's built on the Stellar Consensus Protocol, which is Stellar, and we've been pointing to Stellar Network, and XRP also is works hand in hand with Stellar and Stellar Lumens. Think about the word stellar, interstellar, right? We know Matthew McConaughey was in Interstellar, and that movie's a allegory for going within and inner space. So I'm just adding it all up. And if you go watch The Glass Onion, the second one, that whole movie is based around a napkin that has the plans for a cryptocurrency on it. That, I mean, if you read what's on that napkin, it is the number one cryptocurrency that aligns with that would be Pi Network. So you have Pi. So you have it in that movie. You have the meaning of Pi. Pi is even, I've read references that that's the name of God. Don't quote me on that one. I'll have to dig up the research for it. But it's just connecting the dots. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? But just dive into your name and the date when you were born. Do the look up the human design on the Jehovian archive and find out how your design works, because that I already trusted my gut and listened to my gut a lot, and I've known about being claircognizant for a while now, but sorry, I lost train of thought. The human design with me already kind of knowing that I leaned on my gut and my heart, more than my brain, that that when I went through my own human design and found out that my defined motors are my heart, my spleen, and the whichever one is referenced to the gut, those are my defined motors. I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. So that's when I really started leaning on my gut and my heart. So let's leave it there. Thank you again for your kind comments.
Any more questions for Mike or decodes on Silo and the people have done?
G'day, everybody. I don't actually have a question because I only just caught the last 20 minutes or so of the show, but what I've heard from you, Mike, is absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to go back and listen to it. I've just woken up to get ready for the show we're going to do, Reno, together, and but this all sounds very fascinating, so I'm excited to delve into all the information you've got there, Mike. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Tom, and thank you very much for your comments. We'll be doing another show the same time next week if Reno has nothing else going on. I know that we will the next episode that we do will be heavily on episode 3 and them shutting down the generator to fix the generator. I'm gonna reclip the that whole, I think, 20 minutes, and we'll be breaking that down. So if everybody wants to be prepared, and be able to give their take on it and be involved, that's your best bet. Just watch that the scene with them repairing that generator, because it's major comms, and it's super important for what's to come. And thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I just want to add on that too, that it's not a big deal in the books. So that's actually an added thing that I worked out for the show. That whole, because it's very much drama based. They didn't need to put that in there, and so it was literally all done, so we could have these kinds of comms, and it all starts with there's something carved on the back of the badge. Something is carved on the back of the badge. And that just sounded, that was a 343, which means putting an end to the endless 343. United States Corporation ends 343. So I just thought that was before you have a near-death experience like the generator in the show being portrayed, this is definitely what we're going to go through, in probably in this year, right? Because remember that movie with Jim Carrey, the 23 movie, where he kind of, which is a wonderful movie. I watched that recently, and definitely a good stop on the road of anyone's Gematria education is paying attention to Jim Carrey and his movies, and that one about the 23, and so yeah, we're coming into that space of this is the year of the 23, and so yeah, it talked about the 1.3 ton each panels of C and D. And so that worked out to be sort of silver, being this kind of, because these are heavy panels being taken out of the way so they can open up the, so yeah, that worked out to be I think it was what silver is, what's the number? Didn't write it down. I think it's a 70 or an 80 something. And then Atmos, which was an 88 after it. So, yeah, and then at the very end of the scene, she talks about chambers clear, which was a 108. When there's a lot of 18 in this show, so the last thing she said was chambers clear, and yeah, the 108 or the 18, yeah, it's free energy, and it's once the very last thing that she said being that, and then we move into a space where we have just coming just a lot less pressure on things. Once Juliet managed, once she wrote the ship of, because everyone thinks that their job is the most important, but hers actually is, and that's riding her ship, putting her own mask on, and getting that generator running smoothly, and so yeah, there was also a bit where I forget her name. What's the woman who I'm terrible with names, but the woman who's always in the mechanical shop. She put a comm out there, which was I think she had a lesbian partner, and Juliet was like, well, what happened to her? And then I don't know, it was Mayor Dawes that came in, Mayor Johns, and she asked like what happened to her, and then she said she chewed with her mouth open, which is a 298. And then the other part of the scene, there was they said there's no part of this there's no part of this that's easy, which was also a 298. And so yeah, yeah, there's a lot here. I mean, what else? Yeah, so sometimes you find these comms and you don't necessarily know what they mean in context. That's why we need to bring them to these sort of discussions and see where they come out to. Because to see two comms like that were both 298s in that sequence, it's not clear why that is. And rotor blade was also another one that was a big one. I think I was mentioning that to you before, Mike, about the rotor blade. Did you catch anything on that one?
I did not get to decode the gematria for that whole scene yet. That's probably where I'm gonna pick back up. But I will add that the doors for the generator weighing 1.3 tons. That's also another pi reference, 1.314. It's just without the 1.4. And that with Juliet taking over as sheriff, that's the one stipulation that she has. In order for her to become sheriff, when the mayor asks her to become sheriff, she says that I have to shut down the generator to repair it. And, the mayor says that that's never been done before, and that, the people are going to be in the dark. But, it's symbolic of, in order for there to be a new sheriff in town, right, that this balancing of the generator has to take place first. So, I mean, that's what we're going to see when, that's a direct reference to when all of this goes down, right? They got to restore the balance, and then on the other end of that, there will be a new sheriff in town. But I'm gonna break down the gematria. I'll probably spend quite a bit of time doing that scene. I'll probably decode everything in it.
Oh, but that's good that we can have a bit of a preview to it, so people, because that's the whole point of this. It's not just one person doing it and presenting it. It's so we can all start to analyze these scenes. And I think it's episode 3 and 4, isn't it, that we kind of would focus on next week. And I'm not sure if I will 100% be able to make it because I'm going to be on the road, so it'll be a bit touch and go, and I'll have 3 kids, to myself. That I'll be responsible for in the forest with don't even know if I have reception and things like that. So I can't really guarantee I'll be there next week, but it definitely, this is a community effort anyway, and these should be weekly, of whatever show that we're up to, and we need to invest in our education on this level, and as Mike's already demonstrated, it's not just gematria or just one show. It's very wide reaching for Bible verses and Q posts and news events and legislation and old news stories and other shows, and it's very holistic. And so the more time and energy we can put into our general education on all this, it'll lead to better and better places for us. And we really need as many minds on this as possible, because so many people, they think straight up and down rather than laterally. They haven't got that feminine mindset in this game yet, and so that's what Mike has really been on the forefront of, and is tearing ahead. So if he can take some of us with us and bring us up to speed with where he's thinking, I've already learned heaps today. I'm really thankful for just already what Mike has shared, and desperate to do more of these shows and to have it as a weekly fixture, to just really upgrade myself and the general conversation around the community on here to keep going. I also noticed there was a H57 tape, and that she stole. And in the books, that was made a much more big of a deal, like as if stealing the tape was they knew the significance of it, but it didn't make any sense to them, because it was supposed to protect people as they go outside. That perhaps the normal tape that they use, was what was killing people somehow. So yeah, that was interesting as well.
Yeah, just let me know, Reno. I'll keep the show for the same time next week, and I'll just do my best to go it alone. If you can make it, good. But like you said, I mean, you'll be busy with the kids, and yeah, I mean, I've done the gematria shows before by myself, so it's no big deal. But I do love having a co-host here. It does make things easier, and gives me time in between the gives me a pausing point to recollect my thoughts and switch gears and stuff. So I definitely highly value having you here and doing this with me, Reno. I'm thankful for your take on things, and if all the minds that we could have on this working together, the better, and just the increasing quality we'll see in throughout these shows. I'll give one more chance for anybody that wants to add anything or any questions, and then I guess we'll wrap it up.
Mike and Reno, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it. And what I really loved about today's show in particular was where Mike goes deep down in the rabbit holes, and it gets there's no getting lost in any reads there. You're deep down into those holes and shining a light for the rest of us. So I appreciate you for that, Mike. And Reno, what you brought to the table today was amazing as well, because I felt, pulled us back, and we got the wider view, which sometimes, like I said, when I get down in rabbit holes, I get stuck down there, and then I just kind of like close the book and I'm done for the night. Where you helped really draw us back out and looking at the 10,000 foot view. I really appreciate that about you, Reno. And I just wanted to thank you as well for taking the time today, especially on your big day, and wish you a very happy birthday.
So sweet. Aren't you so nice? That's lovely. Yeah, I mean, it's no other place I'd rather be, guys. This is wonderful stuff, and yeah, I think we're all called in this journey, and we're all, every day is a magical day for each of us, and yeah, it's just I've been wanting to do this for a long time with Mike, and I've just been really trying to send him a lot of love and prayers through his difficult last few months, and I really felt like the time was now to just kickstart the energy in our, losing a lot of sort of flaky members of the group. I felt like now's the time to up the ante a bit, listening to Charlie's presentation on yesterday, and it's just very clear in myself. I don't want to be waiting around, for my kids' sake, and I know that's where Mike's at as well, and it really is up to us to, I know I really feel it deep within me that it really is just the work of putting our heads together and looking at these texts, and it's all there. We have it all, as in we have it all, not someone else, and so we can do this. It may seem daunting at times, and I know a lot of probably people that who are just listening to this, a lot of things may be very, as you say, a lot of minutiae and a lot of things that don't totally make sense yet, but it takes time. Repetition, it even can make even the most complex of subjects, if there is sense in there to be found, you will find it with just that little bit of perseverance. And yeah, my aim here was to come and to just equalize the equation, which is what we all should be trying to do in every social situation. Feeling the energy, and then just trying to bring it back into where we see as the balance point. And yeah, I think that Mike has an incredible level of knowledge, and if we can help to sort of bridge that to get people activated and starting to connect that for themselves, then that's what I want to do. So I'm here for it's a selfish reason as well. I want to learn off myself. So it's the same thing we did with the health and with Justin. That was all because I really loved Justin as a person, just being a listener, and then the health stuff was something that I could offer, and also just setting up a space and just being a space holder and a communicator. So yeah, I think we all have something to offer here, and even if someone's sitting back right now and is not sure, or has just a very small thing that they don't think is relevant, it can be really relevant. And so I'm here for anyone who feels like they have something to say, because I really believe in that group mind that is much more intelligent than any one of us. So yeah, the more we can, I think every 15 minutes it's important to open it up to the group and see who feels inspired to make a comment or a question or something like that. So that's the way I think, and Justin was the one who really taught me that by saying that, he gets a lot out of the group process too. So yeah.
Happy born day, Reno. I know you sent me the message last week, but I've just been so enthralled in all of this that yeah, it slipped my mind. But happy born day, and thank you for being here. And I will try to remember to that 15-minute rule that as well. I mean, that is a good idea. I know it could be a little long-winded of me to go through scene after scene after scene, and it would serve the group better to, about every 15 minutes take a break, ask if anybody has any questions, and then again it'll allow me to to play off of what other people have, and it'll bring up more from within me to share. You are right that it's a tribe type thing, that we're all supposed to be working together, and that's really where we lost our way throughout time, is that everybody has become isolated and keep their thoughts to themselves, and we can only benefit and grow the more that we offer up of ourselves to everybody else. And it also will make other people more comfortable, and they get familiar with you. It just it'll bring us all together. And I do believe that that's one of the biggest things of them putting all this out here, is that it is supposed to bring us together. We're all, I mean, even though we're all in our own spaces and isolated, we have an opportunity to flip on our TVs, computers, or whatnot, and all get delivered this same message in these brilliant and entertaining ways. It's it's not mindless TV. It's something there for us all to be able to talk about and bring us together, and like we've seen in this episode, that having each other to bounce off of, and I'm like Donadika said, that I'm down in the rabbit holes, and then you're able to kind of pull back and have that wider view. It's the more we have, the better it's going to be, and the more understandable it will be for everybody else. Because my mind, it does work differently than other people's, and I've had a very challenging time over the years trying to get people to understand things. When you're claircognizant of things, and you just know things, it becomes very difficult and challenging to be able to explain that to people, that you just they don't get when you say, well, when that kind of turns people off. So again, I'm very thankful to have you here, Reno, and everybody else.
Awesome, brother. And I love that line in the show, which was, what's the point in taking an oath if you don't stick to it? And which is a 579, which God knows what that is, but I just thought it's there's so much in this Q project, how we did sign an oath at the beginning of it, and that was where we go one, we go all, and that was in the truth. This is the information war to find the truth, and that once we find it, that will unite us. So we're only divided in untruth, and there's nothing more. There's nothing more sort of symbolic of that than the last few weeks. So yeah, I think we don't have anything to worry about if we just show up and as a space holder, Mike, in this realm. I feel like all you have to do is show up, and I think that if we just get into that routine and start to set that pattern, I think people the co-host will be the group, every time, be different people from different week. And yeah, so rather than and then you'll be forced to sort of go along with other people's thought processes, and but it'll always come back to your center, and then yeah, if as a gatekeeper to that, or as a space holder of that, of that focus, that'll be the responsibility to keep pushing that ball forward. And that's what's so great about this time, is we get to have these conversations that we've all been yearning for, and to finally get into the depths of companionship and fellowship in this quest. So yeah, I honor everyone here. Absolutely.
All right, everybody. We'll just we'll end it there. Thank you all again for being here, and I will see you all next week. And I will post all these. I'll post everything relevant to this on Decoding the Storm. That way, you guys can go back and pour through it yourselves. And if you want to share it with other people, you all have a magnificent day.
Before we go, can you play that song that Gematria explained? Because I wrote that for this show.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It would mean to finish the show on that one.
Give me 1 minute.
Thank you, Mike and Reno, and happy born day again, Reno.
Is there any last comments, queries, questions, concerns before we play the last song and finish the show?
Yeah, just if everyone's got time, tune into All Is a Tom in about half an hour. Take it easy, guys.
All right, I'm going to start it. You have to let me know if it comes up. I'm not sure if I have the audio set up correctly. Is the final rendition that you had, the one that you sent me explaining Gematria 432 hertz? Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start it back up.
It's not coming through for me.
It's not coming. Is it coming through for anybody, or?
Very faint.
Let me see if I can turn the volume up.
Still very faint.
How about now?
I can barely hear it, not at all.
I don't know why it's not playing. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can figure it out.
way of studying words with a mystique. It's a Jewish practice, so ancient and old, used to hide meanings and stories told. In Gematria, each letter has a value for number connections and to pursue. And words with the same values are thought to be linked. And through this practice, new insights are bring. Each word has a story to tell, a way of exploring language, super magic spell. God communicates through numbers. God communicates through numbers. There's a 351. Isn't that fun? Every word, every sentence has its own second meaning and connection to find in every show and TV program we love. And see what God is trying to say to us. To wake us up, to see the light around us always. It's as easy as ABC, as 1, 2, 3 through the alphabet, and you got it. So here we go. Truth is 87, manifest 87, justice 87, Russia 87. Oh, God communicates, and through numbers, it's a 351. Well, isn't this fun? God communicates, and through numbers, 351. Well, isn't this fun? The mirror, it's a 153. John Kennedy Jr. See you soon. Save the children. I'm expecting a miracle. Well, Gematria is a word that's quite unique. A way of exploring words with mystique. And it's a Jewish practice, so ancient and old, used to layer meanings in stories told. In Gematria, sentences have a value for number connection to pursue. Words with the same values are thought to be linked, and through this practice, new insights are bring. Well, each word has a story to tell. It's a way of exploring language's magic spell. Each word has a story to tell. A way of exploring language's magic and godly spells. God communicates, and through numbers 351. Well, isn't this fun? God communicates, yeah, through numbers. Well, isn't this fun? Whoa, 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 whoa. It's 351. la 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 la. Whoa, 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 whoa. Great awakening given to you through your favorite stories and shows. Isn't this fun? Look into 351, pick mirror 153, and you and me gonna heaven. It's an 87. Mommy. I want a mommy.
Thank you, Reno. That's absolutely amazing. It's brilliant, brother. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that. Everyone have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, I had trouble writing that song. It was one song I just pained over. I really wrote it from scratch, and um, then I just decided to have fun with it. And you could hear the guitar went out of tune halfway through, and the baby's going on, wants mummy, and I'd already attempted it like 10 times, and so I was like, look, I don't care if I'm sort of all over the place in this one. I'm just going to have fun with it, and that's what it's all about. And yeah, it's hard to include or inform people through a song. I mean, it's sort of like trying to show people. And so yeah, I guess rather than it being more structured, I had to go more into the just playing around with it, and it doesn't have to make any sense at all, really. I mean, it's hard for this subject to make any sense at all for a left brainer. So I guess it's good to just out myself as just a crazy person in the song. So that was the idea there. So yeah, I'm glad we got to that, and I'll keep working on it. And yeah, I guess that's hopefully a nice way to finish the show, and talk to you all soon. Well, in 20 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you again, brother. And it was perfect. You guys have a great day.